The NFL has finally announced the Cowboys' 2023 schedule, so I'm here to give you the full schedule and breakdown of each matchup, plus give you my record predictions for the 2023 Dallas Cowboys. So let's get into it. Before we go game by game, let's look at some notes of the schedule. The team will have 9 away games and 8 games at home in AT&T Stadium. The Cowboys are on the road for 4 of their first 5 games of the season. On the first Sunday night football game of the year, the Dallas Cowboys season kicks off against the New York Giants on the road at MetLife Stadium. Daniel Jones and his shiny new $40 million deal will take on Micah Parsons and the Cowboys defense that stifled them 2 times last year. It feels like the Cowboys have played the Giants in week 1 so many times in recent years, but they actually haven't since 2019. In his career, Prescott is 10-2 against the Giants and typically has his best games against them. I think this is the perfect week 1 matchup with Daniel Jones versus Dak Prescott, 2 NFC East rivals kicking off their seasons. I can't wait. For the second year in a row, we get Mike McCarthy versus Aaron Rodgers. This time, Rodgers is in a different shade of green with the New York Jets. We'll be seeing a completely different Jets team this year compared to years past. They have playmakers all over the field with Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Elijah Moore. Their defense was stout last year with Sauce Gardner winning Defensive Player of the Year, and that defensive unit should be coming along nicely up in New York. I never thought I would be saying this about the Jets, but this is a measuring stick game early for the Cowboys. I think the Jets are going to be pretty damn good this season and will be competing for a top spot in the AFC. They're strong on both sides of the ball. As for the Cowboys, they should have the defensive unit to hold up against the New York offense with run defense and a strong back 7. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Tony Pollard are going to have to do some work against that Jets secondary. That had one heck of a season last year. All in all, this should be a really fun game, and I'm really happy it's at AT&T Stadium. I might have to make a trip to see the boys. I don't say this lightly. The Arizona Cardinals might be the worst team in all of football when it's said and done next season. They face off against the Cowboys in week 3. They're really void of talent all across the board. Kyler Murray is coming off his ACL injury, and I doubt he'll be available to play. The Cowboys will get a chance to face rumored trade candidate DeAndre Hopkins. Diggs and Gilmore will get the opportunity to bottle him up. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense should be able to move the ball against a J.J. Wattless Cardinals team, and it should be a lot of fun for Cowboys fans. I want to say now, Cardinals fans probably aren't going to have a ton of fun in this game. I think it's a Cowboys blowout. Before we continue, if you're new here or you haven't subscribed, only 11% of you that watched my last video were subscribed to the channel. We're slowly increasing that number with every single video, so if you could, please subscribe. Now, let's get back to it. In week 4, Mac Jones and Bill Belichick come to Dallas. The Patriots have been mediocre to say the least without Tom Brady, and the Cowboys should be able to handle business against this team in their own house. But this is an interesting game for sure. We don't know what the Patriots offense will look like with a new play caller. Bill Belichick usually puts together really good defenses, but the Cowboys should have enough firepower on both sides of the ball to get the job done. As Cowboys fans, we really don't get to see the Patriots a lot, so this game should be a lot of fun. In week 5, we get an NFC divisional round matchup between the Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Personally, I love how this game is set up. It's just 4 games into the season. Both teams will have their legs underneath them, making this a good test for both teams to see where they stand amongst the best of the NFC. Now, I don't really know what the quarterback position looks like for the 49ers when this game does roll around. It could be either Brock Purdy or Trey Lance, but I do know it's going to be one heck of a matchup between 2 of the NFC's top teams. We already know what this matchup looks like. We had to watch it just a couple of months ago. This should be a revenge game at Levi Stadium in week 5. The Cowboys are set up for another exciting game on the road. The team is headed to Los Angeles to face off against Justin Herbert and the new Chargers offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. Justin Herbert, a now 4th-year quarterback in the league, has Quentin Johnston, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen at his disposal. On paper, it looks like a really explosive offense, and I cannot wait to see how the Cowboys defense matches up with them. The Dan Quinn versus Kellen Moore chess game will be a lot of fun to watch, and I'm sure a major storyline heading into the weekend. Both teams are supremely talented, so once again, this game's going to be a lot of fun. The Cowboys will get their bye week in week 7. After that, they're at home against the Los Angeles Rams. I know the Rams are only 2 years removed from a Super Bowl, but this might be one of the worst teams in football. They gave up all of their draft capital, lost some pieces to that Super Bowl team, and will most likely stink it up in 2023. So what I'm saying is, this is going to have to be a must win for the Cowboys if the Rams are going to turn out like everyone expects. In week 9, we get another NFC East showdown against last year's Super Bowl team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Unfortunately, last season, we didn't get to see Jalen Hurts versus Dak Prescott. But if everything aligns itself correctly, we'll get a look at these two facing off, which I'm really excited to see. The Eagles lost a bit of talent throughout the offseason, but did manage to keep some of their key pieces intact. Everyone was drooling over the Eagles draft, so we'll see how much it pans out for them when they take on the Cowboys. Like I mentioned, Dak Prescott owns the NFC East and has a career record of 8-3 against the Eagles. I'm so glad these teams get to play twice a year, and I think it's going to be one heck of a showdown when they face off. The NFC East is really back. In week 10, the Cowboys take on the New York Giants, who we've already talked about, so let's move on to week 11, where the Cowboys will be on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. The Panthers will have first-round pick Bryce Young in there at quarterback this time around, compared to Sam Darnold, who we saw last time in 2021. Although it's a different quarterback, I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make for them. The Panthers don't have a true number 1 receiver. The Cowboys have 2 number 1 corners, so it's going to be a rough day for their offense if they can't move the ball through the air, especially with that defensive line getting after Bryce Young on 3rd down. As someone that is from Charlotte, North Carolina, and has to put up with a ton of Panthers fans, I think the Cowboys win this game pretty handily. There are just too many mismatches on both sides of the ball. The talent gap is going to be evident. I have this one marked on my calendar. I will be there live in Charlotte to watch the Cowboys dismantle the Panthers. In week 12, the Cowboys take on the Sam Howell-led Washington Commanders. Depending on how Sam plays, this could be a good game, but I think the Cowboys easily outmatch the Commies at this point. Like we've talked about with the other NFC East teams, Dak Prescott cooks Washington every single year, so I expect nothing different. Week 18 of last season meant absolutely nothing, and it has no effect on this game this coming year. If Dallas doesn't win this, I'm going to be concerned. Week 13 is one of the most intriguing matchups on the Cowboys schedule. Geno Smith is going to have a ton of weapons at his disposal, and Dallas is going to have to figure out a way to match up. I think it's so interesting for the simple fact that we don't know if last year's success is going to carry over for Geno. So this is pretty much a wild card, a game we'll have to gauge as it gets closer to time. But if the Seahawks are playoff contenders, then it's a team that we're going to have to see come playoff time in the NFC. One of my favorite matchups of the entire season. In week 14, the Eagles are headed to AT&T Stadium. So let's head on to week 15, where they face the Buffalo Bills. Another one of a couple interesting road games for the Cowboys sends the team to Orchard Park in Buffalo to take on Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs in December. And if you've ever been to Buffalo in December, it's cold, real cold. But I don't think that's what's going to steal the headlines leading into this game. I can see it now. This game is going to be highlighted by Diggs versus Diggs, Trayvon versus Stephon. Something I think that all of us have been waiting for forever. Aside from that matchup that everyone is going to milk for a straight week, including myself, Josh Allen versus the Cowboys defense should be a lot of fun as well. An athletic quarterback taking on one of the most athletic defenses in the entire league. Dak Prescott taking on a pretty good defensive bunch in Buffalo. Much like the road games we've talked about and will talk about, this is going to be a bar-setting game for both teams, as they should be battling for the top of their divisions. Another exciting week of Cowboys football. After a frigid game in Buffalo, the Cowboys are headed to beautiful Miami, Florida to take on the Dolphins. Quite the change of weather, but we stay inside the AFC East for the second week in a row. This game will most likely look a whole lot different from what I'm probably going to talk about right here. Assuming Tua is healthy, the Dolphins are a team you worry about on paper. Their offense has speed all over the field with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but the Cowboys now have two solid cornerbacks, so you might not dread that matchup near as much. As for the Cowboys offense, they'll look to take away pass rusher Bradley Chubb, and probably avoid Xavier Howard, the ball-hawking corner, on the other team. The matchup of offensive guru Mike McDaniel facing off against Dan Quinn is going to be a serious game of chess. Much like the Bills game, to end the year, this is going to be a measuring stick for the Cowboys. For the third week in a row, the Cowboys are most likely going to face a playoff team. Based on what the NFL schedule makers have done, they think the Detroit Lions are going to be a real threat in the NFC. They gave the Lions a Week 1 matchup against the Chiefs to open the season, so evidently the hopes are big for this squad. But what will the Lions look like by Week 17? Who knows? If they're at full force, it's probably going to be a lot to handle defensively. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, along with a brute offensive line. As for the Cowboys offense, Detroit's defense completely stunk last year. They'll probably improve a little bit and not be historically bad, but with Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup, they should be able to put up some serious points. I know the last few games on this schedule are going to be tough, but they're also going to be really good football to watch. And personally, I like watching the Cowboys face good teams down the stretch because it lets you know where they stand amongst some of the league's best. I'm pretty high on the Lions this year, so I think it'll be a good test as well. And to end the 2023 season, the Cowboys will play the Washington Commanders, who we've already talked about. So I was trying not to give away my schedule predictions until the end of the video, which I'm going to pop up on your screen right now. I have the team finishing with an 11-6 record. I think their ceiling is 12 or 13 wins, and I think their floor is somewhere around 9. Now that the NFL schedule has been released, I want football to just hurry up. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you all,